One of the most intriguing mysteries of the J2b-L283 diaspora is how one line that most likely originated in what is now Hungary or the Balkans in the Iron Age ended up migrating to the Middle Volga over 1,000 years ago. The offspring of this line now belong to the Mokshas and Mishar Tatar ethnic groups, and as such, I refer to them as the black sheep of J2b-L283. I think that the DNA of 54 ancient Pannonian Avars that were found last year to be a related line of J2b-L283 may help us understand part of the mystery behind how this group migrated so far from Central Europe to the Volga. There are samples in this haplogroup found in the Russian Nobility DNA project on family tree DNA. They're grouped as 07 Tatar princes, Bekhanids. They trace their royal descent to Prince Bekhan of the Temnikov Principality. The Temnikov Principality, also known as the Bekhanid Principality of two men, or in Italian, Tartari de Mordua, literally Mordvin Tatars, was a Mishar and Moksha principality. There are also Mokshas in this haplogroup, J2b-Y12000. So all the most recent common ancestor of all of these different Mishar Tatars, that's the greater designation of this group of Tatars. The second largest group of Tatars, the largest group is called the Kazan Tatars. The Mishar Tatars and these Mokshas, who are in this haplogroup, all descend from one man that lived approximately 1,200 years ago. Family tree DNA and WIFIL estimate that the most recent common ancestor lived between 700 and 750 CE. Of the two groups, Mishar Tatars and Mokshas, the Mokshas have been in the region longer because they speak a language that is a Finno-Ugric language that's related to the neighboring peoples. The origin of the Mishar Tatars has remained a point of controversy for years. Generally, however, some ancient tribes are brought up. Burtas, Bulgars, Khazars, Kipchaks, Kumans, and Ugrian Magyars. This is from the Wikipedia page. A historically known migration that fits in time with the TMRCA of J2b-Y12000 and goes to the approximate area of where we find J2b-Y12000 nowadays is the flight of some remnants of Old Great Bulgaria under the leadership of Khan Kotrag. When I had suggested the flight of the Old Great Bulgarians to Volga, Bulgaria, as a potential vector for J2b-L283, this line of J2b-L283 getting into this region, one of the descendants of this line responded to me with some doubt about this theory, because he said that there are already people that claim descent from Old Great Bulgarians, or I'm sorry, Volga Bulgarians, who are not J2b-L283. And well, in fact, none of them are. Every single person who is J2b-L283 in this area is either Moksha or Mishar Tatar. In this map, you can see where the Moksha languages were spoken at the beginning of the 20th century. Supposedly, there is archaeological evidence just discovered in the last 20 or 30 years that Mokshas were originally living around the upper reaches of the Sura River, and that the Burtas were originally living along the Volga River, and that when the Volga Bulgarians came, they pushed the Burtas from the east side of the river. It forced them to live on the west side of the river, and so then the Burtas were displaced a bit to the west, and then they displaced the Mokshas from the Sura River, and then the Mokshas went to settle in the basin of the Moksha River where they are today. So he proposed that the Burtas, who are a group that, at least in English language sources, there's very little information about them. He proposed that the Burtas may have been relocated to this area from somewhere further to the south and west by the Khazars. If J2b-Y12000 were living among the Burtas before Volga Bulgarians came, and if they originally were Pannonian Avars, then the period of Pannonian Avar history that the migration must have taken place in would have been the early Avar period. And there was during the early Avar period, just about a generation before the foundation of Volga, Bulgaria by Kotrag, saw a defeat of the Avars, the Pannonian Avars, that led to their decline. And this was a combined surprise attack on Constantinople. In 626, the Avars cooperated with the Sassanids in a failed siege. After the defeat, the political and military power of the Avars declined. So maybe after this defeat, some of the Pannonian Avars sought better fortunes elsewhere and may have ended up further east, and maybe the Khazars made a deal with them and sent them up the Volga to safeguard that part of the Silk Road. Wikipedia says that the Khazar state began to form sometime after 630, when it emerged from the breakdown of the larger Göktürk Khaganate. So, you know, everybody likes a winner, nobody likes a loser, and the timing fits pretty well for the beginning of the decline of the Avars and the rise of the Khazar state. This is the time of shifting alliances. So it would make sense that some Pannonian Avars may have decided, hey, our ship is sinking, let's go look for better fortunes elsewhere. What I think makes this theory more compelling now is that last year, these 54 ancient samples from Szolnok, Hungary, who are considered Pannonian Avars, although autosomally they are the indigenous people of Central Europe, of Pannonia. However, materially, their culture was identical to that of the Pannonian Avars, who are coming from northern Eurasia. So these 54 samples were found to be one of the closest related male line. No, actually, these are the closest related ancient samples to these J-Y12000. The name of the haplogroup is J-CTS-11760. Actually, correction, there is another ancient sample that's slightly more closely related to the J-Y12000, and that is Anderton 5. It's from Lower Saxony, Germany, dating to the medieval age. And there are two samples that are equally distantly related. These are two samples from Santo Stefano, South Tyrol, Italy. This study from last year that published these ancient Pannonian Avar genomes found that there was endogamy practiced by the Pannonian Avars, the ones that the core group of this population, the ones that came from Asia, they mostly were intermarrying between themselves. Even though they lived in different parts of Hungary, they found partners for the most part from other villages that were settled by these Asian Pannonian Avars. However, under their occupation, the indigenous people began to adopt the material culture of the Pannonian Avars. And I think that the samples that were found were all living a sedentary lifestyle. The samples that they found that are J2b-L283. But that does not preclude the possibility that other related lines of J2b-L283 may have found their way into Pannonian Avar groups that maintained this steppe culture kind of lifestyle. And those could have been the ones that were more militaristic and may have taken part in military campaigns, such as the failed siege of Constantinople, from which they actually did succeed in capturing, I think, 270,000 captives from the suburbs. So they may have gone further east to sell those captives as well. It's another explanation. So I think it's a really exciting it's kind of a breakthrough in that I think one of the links is at least a little bit better defined, or we at least have a possibility that makes sense, because relatively closely related J2b-L283 has been found in Pannonian Avars. So this theory in a nutshell posits that J2b-Y12000 may have been living in Pannonia, and then when the Avars came, they became subjugated by the Pannonian Avars. Then they became Pannonian Avars, and later fled to the east. And then possibly the Khazars integrated them and moved them to the north. At any rate, what we know, what makes the most sense, is that the most recent common ancestor of J-Y12000 was neither a Moksha nor a Mishar Tatar, because he lived prior to the Mishar Tatar ethnogenesis, and he was not originally a Moksha. He's somebody that migrated to this area from somewhere else. So I think Burtas is a compelling theory, but really we're looking at any kind of group, any kind of people that ended up moving to that area before the Tatarization of that area, because it looks like in each of these lines, many of these lines are over 1,000 years old, and there's Tatars in some of the lines, and there's Mokshas in others. I mean, almost every single one of these lines has Tatars and Mokshas. So it looks like it was kind of arbitrary. Some of them became Tatars, some of them became Mokshas. This kind of is well explained by the fact that they were already there when this Tatarization happened. Thanks for watching my channel. If you like my content and want to have a say in what research topic I should cover next, head on over to my Patreon, because I've just changed my tiers so that anyone supporting me with $8 or more a month can vote on a monthly research topic. Higher tiers can suggest the monthly research topic poll options and participate in a bi-monthly poll to decide new feature development. Every 2 months, I'll deliver a progress report to the Council of Elders regarding the community-driven new feature development. If you are interested to read about the history of Mishar Tatars in this region, I can recommend Maxim Akhturin is very knowledgeable about this group of people, and he's published in a variety of works in the Russian language.